Man, Rashad and Hendo, that's going to be a hard one to call. Yeah, I never, it's hard for me to count Dan Henderson out. He's such a savage dude, man. I mean, as far as mental toughness, I think he's the mentally the toughest guy in our sport, period. I've known him for a very long time. So, unless something crazy happens, it's going to be a pretty back and forth battle. But I want to give Dan Henderson the edge.
I think it's a great match, like a Lyoto, not a good match for anybody, man. He have his game. In his game, it's tough to beat him. And man, he's a great talent. He fighted 2-1 and he won. No, but right now Rashad is his number. I think this guy's gonna make an incredible show. Both guys have a good hands, and both guys are wrestlers. I think man, this fight is a 50-50 too.
UFC 161, Hendo versus Rashad in the main event. It's a very interesting matchup. I don't really have a prediction right now. I'm kind of iffy. On it. Hendo's one of those guys that you're absolutely crazy if you count him out. Absolutely crazy. And he's also one of those guys that's so darn good at just one thing. Well, he's good at many things. Don't get me wrong. He's good at many things. But he's so darn good at that overhand right. If he touches you with it, you're going to sleep. Simple as that. So, that makes him, that's a blessing and a curse in a lot of ways. And Rashad is going to try to, he's a tactician. He's going to take the approach that Machida did, and he's going to try to move around and get away from that overhand right. It's a big sleeper. So as far as wrestling goes, Dan Henderson definitely has the Olympic wrestling background, and Rashad has a great wrestling background as well. Maybe not as higher level as Dan Henderson. I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to give the edge to Dan Henderson. Even though Rashad's a little bit younger, a little bit quicker, I don't think he's stronger, but I'm going to give it to Dan.
Rashad move well and move good, and I think Rashad will win. But I don't know, man. He didn't look that great in his last fight. Maybe he was hurt or something. But if he come like that, I think Dan Henderson will win.
Hendo definitely has the power to be able to put Rashad away. Rashad definitely has the looseness and the slickness to be able to put Dan Henderson down. They're both wrestlers. They both have the perspective and the mentality to go all 3 rounds very, very hard. So, I actually don't know who's going to win that fight.
I've trained with Dan Henderson before. He's a monster. He's a guy where you're like, I wouldn't want to get in the cage with that guy. I mean, he's dangerous. Both guys could win that fight. I'm probably going to have to go with Dan. He's a guy who's spoke for himself. I don't even have to talk about what he's done, but speaking for himself, he's a hard guy to beat. But we'll see. Rashad's bouncing back from a loss too. I know he's hungry. He's antsy to get back in there. So it's gonna be a good fight. But I'm leaning towards Henderson with this one.
Rashad's a good buddy, so we're gonna have to go with Rashad. I just think he's quicker. He wants it more. He's coming off 2 losses. He's kind of backed into a corner. I know Rashad. He's training his butt off, so I'm gonna go with Evans on this one. I'll say Rashad in 3rd round TKO.
On the Hendo and Rashad fight, I'm an OG Dan Henderson fan, and I gotta go with him. He got that, that raw power, that crazy, sorry Dan, but that old man strength. No, but he has that natural power. He knocks people out. And in Rashad's last fight, I'm a fan of Rashad as well. And he's a tremendous athlete, but he looked kind of flat in his last fight. You never know what's going on in the camp, so it's hard to judge people off a fight like that. You've seen him come many a times and knock people out, but I'm gonna go with Henderson in this one.
Goes the distance, I think Rashad, but if it's the 1st round or 2nd round, I think Hendo might catch him.
Rashad Evans versus Dan Henderson. I say Rashad Evans, probably a good decision. He's younger, probably more swift, but grab a takedown or just outbox him, And Dan Henderson got good power, good right hand, but I think Rashad has it. He's too quick, He's not gonna get hit by that right hand.
Hey, this is Ariane Celeste.
This is Urijah Faber.
This is Glover Teixeira.
This is Dan Henderson. You're watching MMA Interviews.
MMA Interviews.
You're watching MMAinterviews.tv.